Yeah, I'm Louis. I'm the co-founder of Glasscube. Philip and I started Glasscube about what? I think it was already 3 years ago. It's been a while. We initially started Glasscube from a very, very different angle. And then how it works as a startup, we kept, I wouldn't use the word pivoting. Would say we kept, um, what's the word, Jake?
Iterating?
Thank you. So how it is as a startup, we used to iterate and iterate and iterate. Yeah, and this is how we came up with Glasscube in the end. And up, okay, but yeah. So basically, yeah. I think why did I start Glasscube? So could you just turn the light off there?
Oh, yeah.
Up.
It's under that screen. Yeah, it says light.
Yep. Turn it off.
Perfect.
Nice. So yeah. So why did I start Glasscube? I think Philip and I had a good idea, and we were excited to start a company together. And I think 3 years later, we're still excited to run a company together, and we are still full of good ideas. Before starting Glasscube, I was actually a legal counsel. So I worked mostly on data privacy, compliance stuff, and I worked for a fintech startup in Vienna. Philip and I met a long time ago. Philip and I know each other since, I don't know, at this point, 15, 16, 17 years. We used to play floor hockey together, which is like ice hockey, but inside, not on ice, running. And yeah, Philip was the captain of the team. I was also on that team. And yeah, we have a lot of shared experiences and good shared memories through that sport. I would say Philip and I are probably the opposite of each other. Philip is a grinder. Philip is the engine, I would say. Philip has the drive. It was always also in sport like this. Philip has the drive. Philip has the engine. And I'm more the finesse guy, I would say, in sport as well. I don't think I would consider myself the engine, but I would consider myself more as like directing and yeah. I mean, I think running a startup is like a roller coaster. Every day is an up and down. I think if things go well, they go really well. If things don't go so well, they go really bad. I think it's the emotional roller coaster, not just for us, but I think for everyone on the team as well. The highs are high, the lows are low. I think that makes it exciting, but I think that makes it also very mentally draining at moments. And I think as a company, and I think Philip as founders try to still stay sharp, keep everyone motivated, but also keep us motivated in like the hard times. I mean, I think when we started Glasscube, AI was at least not as much of a topic in the public eye. So our first initial idea that we started with had nothing to do with AI. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT became a thing, and every single tool and every single company around us did something with AI, or AI at least in their names. And I think initially we underestimated how impactful AI is going to be. We were always proud of ourselves not following the trends and kind of going against this, like the mainstream trend of AI. And I do believe that it helped us a lot, also following that. But I think how AI turned out to be, it's not a trend. I think AI is here to stay. And I think also as a company, you would be a fool not leveraging AI in certain ways. That doesn't mean you solely rely on AI or you just build an AI wrapper around ChatGPT or something like this. But I do believe that AI will have an integral part of companies in the future, of business processes in the future. And I think it's our obligation as an innovative startup to leverage AI as much as we can, but also understand where AI can't help us and we cannot rely on AI. I think initially I think everything started out with like ChatGPT and models is at least how it became a thing in the public eye. And I think, again, it was mostly based on text input, text output. I think, and I think the biggest problem at the beginning was that the predictability of AI models and the quality of the output. I think that got solved. I think the output of AI models is getting better and better. And I think now we're kind of moving more towards the stage with AI coding assistant, that AI is also able to develop code, is able to develop programs. I think DevOps is a very particular field where I would say predictability and reliability is even more important than in other terms of software, marketing, sales, even in other terms of business. So I would say that's I think one of the weaknesses of AI at the current moment. I think AI will improve. I'm confident that in the future models will improve. I'm sure that methods of interacting with the models will improve. But I think when it comes to deploying and distributing software, you want 100%. And I think with AI, it's really, really hard to get 100% accurate output all the time. And I think this is why, in general, in that space, adoption has been slower than in other spaces. Yeah, I think just because our products don't incorporate too much AI at the moment doesn't mean we're not fully aware of what's going on in the ecosystem. Internally, we're experimenting with new tools. We're trying to improve our internal workflows. And to be quite frank, for most of our workflows, AI has not improved too much yet, especially when it comes to software distribution, software deploying application into production. We have not seen an incremental benefit too much from AI yet. But we're on pulse, we're looking into it. Where we do use AI, obviously, is for prototyping, sometimes for easy code generation tasks. We use AI, obviously, leverage ChatGPT, we leverage Cursor internally as well. However, again, I think in the deployment workflow, AI has not really been a thing for us, and we have not found a way to apply AI in our deployment workflow yet. I believe that data is getting, especially in the era of AI, is getting more and more important. And topics like privacy, privacy is becoming more and more a thing. I think if you're selling to large companies, I think at the beginning with models, it was a little bit like a Wild West. You offer AI tooling to companies, and companies were willing to adopt it quite fast, in my opinion, mostly because it was not really used for too many production use cases. It was mostly used for experimentation and testing. So therefore, large companies didn't care too much where the data was processed, what data was processed, because it was not yet ready to move towards to production. But I think now so many more companies move forward and put their AI workflows, their AI internal tooling into production. They leverage AI way more with existing user data, with existing internal data. And I do believe that this trend triggers a lot more privacy concerns. And I think now it's being way more looked at where data is being processed, what data is being processed, which LLMs are being used, can local LLMs being used, where does the application run? I think all those topics make it more difficult now to sell to enterprises. And we do see a trend, a BYOC trend, companies wanting more in their own control. We do see a trend sometimes going back to even on-prem, because companies already have bought GPUs, they have stuff internally, and they don't want to spend that much money on cloud, on SaaS companies where you still have to pay for everything. So I do see a trend moving towards BYOC. Self-hosting is becoming a thing again, and Yes, I think that's a huge counter trend and maybe like a hot take, but this is something we do see from the industry. Self-managed, BYOC is making huge. Self-managed, I guess, is more the old term. I think nowadays they call it BYOC, or hybrid distribution models is becoming more and more of a thing as companies want to regain control over their data. Privacy concerns linger, especially working with young startups, especially in the times of AI, where it's more, I don't know what to say, but Ben. I think air-gapped is a very interesting space because from our conversation that we had with also engineers working for the government, for like privacy agencies, we see that the tooling in the actual air-gapped space sucks. It's outdated, it's old, and it's really, really hard to get stuff running. So this is why distributing to air-gapped system is even more complex. So if you have a software application that needs to run an air-gapped system, this is something that companies usually try to avoid until like a very, very late stage. However, those are the customers that pay you a lot of money usually to deploy it there. So I think our system and Distr specifically helps you distribute into those environments and makes it quite simple for you to tackle those large customers also very early on. I think Kubernetes is not a greenfield technology anymore. Kubernetes is obviously here, I believe, to stay. Um, I would say a good chunk of large companies have already adopted Kubernetes. Um, and that since Kubernetes is not a greenfield project anymore, there's a lot of tooling already existing in that space. A lot of open source tooling. I do believe that the Kubernetes and cloud native community is one of the most vibrant developer communities. If you go to KubeCon, you have super smart engineers there, really, really fun people to talk to. But I think one of the things that hasn't really reached that ecosystem yet is AI. And I'm looking forward to how AI is going to also disrupt that ecosystem. There are tools out there, for example, Kubeflow, that are already like inching in that direction. But from what I know and from the conversation that I'm picking up, AI has not disrupted this industry or this space like it has disrupted other spaces. And I'm very curious what's going to happen. But I'm still convinced that it's going to happen at some point. I think, first of all, it comes back to where we started. I think we believe in core values like privacy. We believe, so this is why open source, we like that stuff is self-hostable. You can use our cloud version if you want to, but you don't have to if you're super secure. We also believe in sharing of knowledge, and I think this is why open source is great. We believe in community work, so we use a lot of open source product. We contribute to open source product, and we kind of want to do the same thing with our product. We want it to be open. We want it to be available for engineers. We want the code to be. We want to be known. We want everyone to see what the software is doing, and we want everyone be able to contribute to what we're doing. So I think open source is one of our core beliefs. Also, moving forward with whatever comes, I do believe that open source will always play an important role within our company. Distr is a software distribution platform that helps you as a software vendor distribute your software to customer-controlled environments. We have Distr covers different use cases, from like fully air-gapped deployments to more like a BYOC type approach, where we also have to help the customer provision some infrastructure. And there's a wide variety of distribution topics, and a wide variety of how software is actually being distributed. But we've seen them all, and we covered them all in one platform.